Here's an example of why it is so important to actually understand bookkeeping and understanding how it works. It's the reason why I teach bookkeeping using a manual system, because you're able to kind of sit back and look at it from the outside, and you can literally see how everything is connected together. Okay, that's not the same as understanding how to enter things into a software package. All right, if you borrow money from the bank, like let's say you go to the bank, you borrow $10,000, they write you a check, now you owe them, and you're going to pay it down every month for 5 years until it's paid off. Okay, you debit your cash account because you are increasing your balance in your bank account by $10,000, and then loans, liabilities are credit balance accounts. So you would debit your cash for $10,000, you credit the loan, Citizens Bank loan payable for $10,000. It's a credit balance. Every month, when you make a payment on that loan, you credit your cash account and you show it going out the door, and then you debit that liability account so that you reduce the balance. So if you have a credit balance for $10,000, and then in the month of March you paid $1,000, now it shows that that loan balance is $9,000. Okay, and you continue that process until you pay it off. Expenses are also debit balance accounts. And I have, on more than one occasion over the years, I have seen untrained bookkeepers apply a payment into the computer system that's for a loan that they made a payment on. And instead of debiting the liability account, they debit an expense account. I literally had a scenario with a company that had an auto loan. And for 7 months, it was 6 or 7 months, they were paying down on that auto loan. But the bookkeeper who was entering the checks into the system when they made payments was debiting an expense account. So after making 6 months worth of payments, the liability balance that they owed to the bank was still the same. If you looked at the books, it actually looked as if they hadn't made any payments on that loan. And for the person who did it, like when we had a meeting and I addressed what was going on, that individual flat out stated that it felt counterintuitive to debit a liability account. Like, liabilities are credit balance accounts. I can't debit that, was what her mindset was. But she knows that expenses are debit balance accounts. So she pitched it to the expense account. Not how it works. Right? If you have a liability, it's a credit balance. When you make payments, that gets recorded as a debit, and you do that until your balance gets to zero. She had printed reports. She had looked at different things, and debits and credits always equaled. So there was no red flag for her. And the first time I scanned the books, I looked and saw, liability, okay, not anything uncommon. And then, I look at the next month and it's the same. And I'm like, wait a second, I thought they made a payment. And I started tracing back the numbers. When I traced back the numbers, I could see exactly what was happening. But to an untrained bookkeeper, if debits and credits balance, it might be something that you never pick up on. Super important to understand how it's all tied together and how it all really works.